Runners, how to find the best running shoe for you. That's what we're going to cover in NLC Coaches Corner, episode 5. Welcome back to NLC Coaches Corner. My name is Lewis Moses, former international athlete turned coach and founder here at NLC. This week, I wanted to cover all things running shoes. What a minefield, eh? There's so many shoes out there to choose from. And with so many options, one of the biggest questions we get asked as a coaching company is, which shoes are right for me? Well, firstly, we're going to start with all the different types of shoes out there. The biggest mistake that we see is people wearing the wrong shoes for the wrong type of training. And what I mean by that is they often put faster shoes onto something like a carbon plated shoe for easy runs because they think I need to run in these shoes because they make me faster. Yes, those shoes might be designed to make you faster. In fact, they are designed to make you faster. And the research shows that they will help you to go faster, but only when you are doing it in the right type of training activity. So they are designed for faster running and races in particular. So if you are wearing them for your easy runs, yes, the cushioning might help save the legs a little bit, but you won't be getting that added benefit, that spring back from the ground that they were designed and created for. But what we also want to unpick here is they are not very stable. Because of the stack height being so high on these types of shoes, it leads to instability. Again, they're designed for nice, crisp ground contact, a fast ground contact. And when you're running slower, you have a longer ground contact. You spend more time on the floor. So that cushioning just sinks a little bit. And that creates that instability around the foot and the ankle, which could lead to potential running injuries. The other thing to say about it, recent literature has also shown the more we run in these types of shoes, the more deconditioned we become. We decondition the calves, the feet, the Achilles sort of area, all that complex area that we actually need to condition to strengthen to help us to run faster. So don't fall into the trap of running in these type of shoes all of the time. My best bit of advice is to vary your shoes. So let's have a look at the different types of shoes that you could be training in. Starting off with general mileage shoes. What do I mean by mileage shoes? Well, these are the type of trainer that you should be running in on a daily basis when you're doing your day-to-day training, such as your easy runs and your recovery runs. These trainers tend to be a little bit more cushioned or something that you're more comfortable in. And research over years and years has found that the best type of trainer for any runner is the one they feel most comfortable in. Now, that's a challenge to find the right shoe that you feel most comfortable in. So my advice would be go and try these shoes on. Go to a running shop, especially if you know one that has a good reputation that a lot of runners go to. And if they have a treadmill where they can do a little bit of a gait analysis on there, even better. Don't fall into the trap of just going to one that maybe doesn't have a best reputation. They get you on a treadmill and they try to sell you any shoe going, because sometimes running shops have an incentive to sell certain shoes. So make sure that you're finding the right shoe for you. And my best bit of advice would be go to a reputable store where they're going to look after you, look at that gait analysis and find out what type of runner you are. What we see with runners is they either require a neutral shoe where you have a much more neutral foot plant, or you're going to require a structured shoe where you need a little bit of support and structure to help you with the way that you're landing. Sometimes see people like overpronating, which we all do a little bit of pronating when we run. But if you are overpronating and you need a little bit of structure in there, then maybe a structured shoe is for you. Everybody is different here. Like that is the beauty and the beast of running. So not one size fits all. So you need to go and find out what type of runner you are, how is your foot landing, and then what shoe is best for you. Then back to my original point, it really does come down to comfort and getting used to those shoes. Sometimes it takes time to bed these shoes in, especially those mileage shoes that I'm talking about, the ones that you're going to do the majority of your miles in. Another top tip here is potentially to buy a couple of pair of those shoes, especially when you get the right ones for you, so you can vary them, so you can alternate them and keep a track of how many miles you're running in them too. General advice is around 500 miles per shoe, but what I prefer to do is I prefer to look at the bottom of the shoe and the tread on the shoe. Once that tread starts to go, once it's worn out, particularly if it's worn out on one side or on the front, that'll also give you a really good idea on how you're running, by the way. So if you don't want to get a gait analysis, you can have a look at the tread on the bottom of your shoe, and that will give you a really good insight into what sort of foot plant you have. So there's another key tip for you. But yeah, keep an eye on that. And also generally you can feel when a shoe's going. You can feel that the cushioning's gone. You can feel that you're just slapping down a little bit more on the floor. So again, just keep an eye on that yourself. Sometimes knowing the shoe is better than keeping a log of the miles. The log of the miles tells you one thing, but that isn't the entire story. It doesn't matter how many miles you've done in them. It's what you've done in them as well. So always listen to yourself and listen to your body when you're trying to make the best decision on whether the shoes have gone and whether you need a new pair. That brings me on to faster shoes. Now, back in my day, when I was competing at a high level, we went for everything being minimalist. We wanted as minimal as possible to make us as fast as possible. Times have changed with those carbon shoes, the big stack height, the foam in there, the carbon plates in there. Now it looks like you're running on stilts. But there are still some shoes out there that are a little bit more minimalist. And what I mean by that is they're a little bit lighter than those mileage shoes. There are also some shoes out there that maybe do have foam in them, or they have a different type of plating. For example, some of the Saucony shoes, they have a nylon plate in there, and they are not as aggressive as a carbon plate. So people might want to try these shoes out for your faster sessions in training. And it's a good idea, again, to have more than one pair. So you have maybe a mileage pair of trainers and maybe a faster pair of trainers. That way, you're getting that variety and they are more suited to the sessions that you're doing within your training plan. You might also have a pair of racing shoes. And this is where those carbon plated shoes may come in. But carbon plated shoes aren't for everybody, especially me when I first went to them. I ended up tearing my calf. Why? Because my calves weren't conditioned to deal with the demand that I was putting on my body. The carbon plated shoes were forcing me into positions that I wasn't strong enough to hold. And as a result, I tore my calf. And we see this with a lot of runners when they're not strong enough to deal with the demands that they're putting on the body because the shoe is forcing them into new positions. For a start, the stack height being higher, you're going to sit slightly higher. That's going to change your position ever so slightly. So again, something to bear in mind when you're picking your shoes. And if you go to a new shoe, have you got the strength, that underpinning strength, to help you to tolerate the loads that you're going to put on your body? So that's given you a little bit of an idea about the different types of shoe. We've looked at those mileage shoes, like the more comfortable shoes that you do your day-to-day running in. We've looked at those more minimalist shoes where they're maybe a little bit lighter, they feel a little bit faster on your feet, and everybody wants to feel faster, right? And then we've also looked at those carbon shoes. But one other shoe that I want to talk about is off-road shoes. And I did a video in the past on the differences between off-road running and on-road running and the different benefits as well. And if you are going off-road, particularly in the winter here in the UK, we know it can get extremely wet and boggy. And when it is like that, I would always recommend wearing a trail shoe. If you're going up into the fells in the mountains, you might want to consider a more aggressive type of fell shoe with bigger lugs so that you get more grip, and also look at the type of grip, especially if you know you're going to be on a rocky surface. So there's loads of different shoes out there that you could be training in, but ultimately what you want to do is find the right pair for you. Now, the most annoying thing that shoe brands do is when you find the right shoe, they go and change the model. And how annoying is that? So one thing that I always say to athletes who I work with is if you find the right shoe, don't be afraid to stock up. I know it can be expensive to buy a few pairs, but why not stock up on them so that you can keep them in the cupboard? You know they're the shoe for you and they're going to last you for quite a long time. There's nothing worse than going onto that brand's website to find out that they no longer do the shoe that you loved. What I would say is always try the new model that they bring out, but they aren't always the same. So don't just think because that was the right shoe for you before, the new model is going to be the right shoe for you again. As annoying as it is, get it, try it. Shoe companies now have great return policies, especially if you are buying online. So have a look at that return policy and make sure you do try the shoe in the house and walk around in it before you take it out onto especially the trails if they're going to get dirty. But make sure you get a feel for that shoe before you fully commit to it. And that's where I want to wrap things up on this week's NLC Coach's Corner. When you get to that point when you're looking for a new shoe, or when you're maybe looking to change shoe, what should you look for? Well, what I always do is I take recommendations, again, from trusted sources. I read reviews online. I look at YouTube videos as to some of these people who have got the shoes out there and have done a nice video on it and given a lot of feedback on that. I also go on people's website and look at the reviews that everyday runners are writing about those shoes. Nothing can beat actually getting in the shoe and trying it. But I think a really good starting point is to do your research on it. Do your research on it first. And then if you have the option of going to a shop and trying it on and doing something like that gait analysis, why not go to the shop, try it on, get on the treadmill and have a feel for it? So tip number 1 would be do your research first and also look at those reviews. Tip number 2 would be to go to a shop to try it on. And better still, if you can get on that treadmill within the shop and have somebody looking at it, then that is a perfect scenario for you. Tip number 3 would be to get the shoe on around the house, walk around in it first, potentially go for a light run in it, check the return policy first, make sure that shoe is right before you commit to it. And my final tip, tip number 4, is if you think the shoe isn't right for you, do not stick with it, especially if you think the sizing is wrong. If the sizing is wrong, send it back. Even if it's going to cost you a little bit of money, it will save you a lot of love on those feet in the future. So that's it for episode 5. I hope you found that useful when I've been speaking about how to find the right shoe for you. As I said, it is a bit of a minefield out there. It does take a lot of time, but it is worth it. We use our feet a lot when we run. That's the main thing we're using when we're running. We put one foot in front of the other. We want to take care of those feet to make sure that we stay injury-free, but also to make sure that our feet don't take a bit of a battering as well. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Tune in for future episodes. And if you haven't seen the previous episodes of NLC Coach's Corner, then please go back and have a look at those. And if you do enjoy them, why not subscribe to our channel and check out all the other content that we've got on here, including our New Levels Coaching podcast. As always, enjoy your training, good luck with your racing, and we'll see you all again very soon.